It's all this knowledge and wisdom and things that we've learned over many years that we can share so that they don't go down the path of negativity.
Detailer's Roadmap Cruise Control, where we navigate the roadways of life, business, and everything in between. Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis from the Detailer's Roadmap Cruise Control podcast. This is episode number 30. I am here with one of my favorite people in the world, Mel Craig. Mel is the owner, founder of the Detailing Pros, which we'll talk about, and also the U.S. distribution boss slash spokesmodel slash trainer for Revivify, Revivify or Revivify America, depending on what your personal flavor is on how you want to pronounce it. Hey, Mel, thanks for taking the time to do this. You and I have known each other for a long time. I consider you a very close friend, so I appreciate you taking the time.
You know, like I pride myself on doing what I can do in the industry to help people, and you know, I think that's why the chemistry is there between you and I, because we're both in the battle together, and it's just all about building the industry and helping people succeed and have the success they're looking for. It's a tough road out. It's a tough road out.
Yeah. Sometimes it's tougher than the others, but yeah, you've been a great proponent of our family, our brand, and just, and we've been through some interesting times together, both personally and professionally. So that's kind of fun. But one of the questions I ask every time people get on here, and talk as long and as detailed as you want, because we're I joked with you, I'm like, in all your 6 months of you being in the industry, right? Mel has been in the industry for a very long time. So I asked for this detailing superhero backstory, and I would venture to say it's a very short list of people that have an extensive backstory like yours. So I think people would be super interested in hearing it.
You know, wow, Kevin. I mean, do you have a few hours? I mean, it is really.
I mean, we got as much time as you want, brother.
You know, I'm retiring from the actual hands-on in February. My lease will be up. I sold the company, and I'll be full-time president of Revivify. But you know, we've been reflecting these last couple of months over my career, and you know, starting back in the 70s with my brother and doing detailing, you know, there was no industry. You know, there was no, you know, I mean, I come in the age of there was no fax machine, there were no pagers. I mean, it was all dial-up telephone and stuff, and you know, and yet we still made it work. But to answer your question, when you think of history in any industry, and it doesn't matter whether it's the car care industry or what have you, history has a way of changing things. And we go back to the 70s in detailing cars when we were extremely limited on everything that you have today. I mean, we had one machine, the DeWalt. I mean, there were orbitals back then, you know, the 14-pound, you know, heavy duty. They didn't really do anything, so we didn't own them. We did everything with rotary. But, you know, interesting enough, like I said, if history has taught us anything, technology will change. And, you know, looking back over my career, feeling as such a part, like, or having such a big role in the advancement of this industry, you know, being one of the leaders that actually helped grew the industry and took it to where it is today. In fact, I tell people now in my training, you know, back in 2015, you know, Chris Jankowski.
Oh yeah.
You know, and one day we had a big event. There was like 150 people at my location. And after the event was over, Chris Jankowski stood up because I was saying, hey, does anybody have any questions or comments? We're all about ready to leave for we're there for 3 days on this big event. And Chris raised his hand and he stood up and he said, you know, Mel, it was a great training. I loved every minute of it. He said, but I just want to make sure that everybody here understands we clean cars for a living. And look, I got goosebumps, Kevin. You know, what the interesting part of that is that if you resonate with that, what, and me being one of the culprit people that created this, I would call overtraining, over-teaching, over-complicating this industry. And from that day, I mean, after he was done, I actually thanked him because I said, you're right. He said, we're not NASA. sending a man to Mars that if he pushes one button the wrong way, he goes out of orbit and he dies. Like you said, we clean cars for a living. And I think there's too many people that have gotten egos and they're out of control with the teaching and things that are happening. In 2015, when I made that change, even after being a trainer since 1998, the change that I made in 2015, I actually started seeing way more success. Because what I did is I decided to remove some of the complication. They got to get started. And I think there's opportunity to continue to educate as you learn the foundation first. Continue to educate yourself down the road if you really want to get that involved or that detailed out. So yeah, I would say, what I would like people to understand is that technology has arrived in the car care and automotive appearance industry. And wake up, because it's here. I mean, there's things that I'm working with a company right now. They just got their second round of funding, and they're working on a new skin, not a film, not a vinyl. It's a skin, and it's electric. It's an electrical skin system that will do, right off the bat, it's going to do two things. Number one, it'll do color change. So you literally walk. I mean, BMW is already, if you haven't watched on YouTube, BMW is already launching their color change skin as well. This skin is going to be a little different because it's also a protective skin. So it's out of Germany. It's really high tech, but you'll be able to climb in the car and literally turn on a switch and make your car red that day, or blue, or they have 38 colors they're going to launch with.
Wow.
So, what really detailers need to do is keep a very open mind. They need to understand that it doesn't end here. Kevin, think about it, 1980. I mean, when I went full time as a detailer, we were correcting paint that was single stage paint, lacquers, acrylics, things that you don't see much of today, which I still do with the hot rod guys, but you don't see that much today. And really, the only protective product we had available to us was a can of wax.
Yeah.
That was it. That's all we had. So if you go to 1980 and look at that, we had a can of wax, and look what we have available to us now. The different levels and types of wax. Then we bump up to sealants. And now, since 2010, ceramic coatings. I kind of instruct people now when they're looking, because they ask a lot of questions about Revivify. What is this? Is it a ceramic? Is it a film? A lot of people are negative because they think I'm telling people it's a film. It's not a PPF. It's not even close. Film is 7 mils thick, for gosh sakes. This is a hand applied liquid. But when I talk to people, I let people know you have waxes, sealants, ceramic coatings, Revivify, and paint protection film. And the only reason I have categorized that out is because although maybe right now Revivify is one of the biggest and it's really gotten very popular, there's more companies, Kevin, that will be coming out with this chemistry too. It evolves. And we have to know that if we look back at 1980 and see that we used a can of wax to protect paint, which didn't really do much, to look what we have now to protect cars. And if you really want to get critical, if you start thinking about paint protection film, when I started film in 1997, I went through Star Shield Armor's training, and I think it was 2000 is what Steve Costa told me. I went through his class. And the film failed very badly. It got a bad rap. People got really negative on it. They said it was a joke to the industry, but technology evolved again.
Because that was because it just yellowed and cracked, right?
Oh, yeah, it was awful. I mean, I remember it took Mario and I went to the class together with like $6,000. Back then, that was a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
And we went through the training program. It was 10 days long. And it took us 6 months to 8 months to really actually say, wow, we're getting it on a car and it's actually looks pretty good, And then the next year and year and a half and 2 years later, our phone was starting to ring that, hey man, you got to fix this. It's yellowed. It's cracking. I mean, it was really bad.
Yeah.
And here we are finding ourselves, fixing something that no contribution of ours. We just depended on 3M and Avery that were the only two people producing film that we depended on them to turn over a good product. My story here, or the moral of this, is that technology evolved. If you quit, a lot of people bailed out and they said this was a joke and it'll never get anywhere. We all lost money. But look at film today. Look at how simple it is. Look at how easy it is. Back then, if you messed up film back then and you had to lift it, it was toast.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
today you can
repaint the
almost,
car and all that. Yeah.
yeah, you're actually almost putting on a whole hood, lifting up and doing it again 3 or 4 times and not having an issue. So technology evolves. And when you look at the coating industry starting in 2010, my hat's off to Dr. G, at OptiCoat, because I think he was the very first one to launch here in the U.S. In fact, he was here in the U.S. out of Texas. And then NanoShine came with Ceramic Pro in 2010. And if you look at the evolution of the ceramic coatings, eventually somebody's going to reinvent the wheel. That's technology. That's chemistry. And anybody can be closed-minded on something new, but really you can't. Kevin, a lot of the leaders know who I am, and they know I don't get involved in snake oil or junk. I have a shop just like the rest of you guys do. And my clients are very high end. I mean, being on Motor Trend, Velocity, Discovery TV, and doing these episodes on different TV shows. Well, that created a following for me of high end clients that assume I'm probably one of the best, and they're going to go to me. People, I tell them I'm not the best. There's so many guys just as good as me, but it's perception. And so when they walk in my shop, these are educated people. I mean, these are car enthusiasts that go way back, and they're not going to fall for snake oil or stupidity or anything. And Revivify is just a new technology that we're going to see more of. You know that. I know that. Revivify is not the only. A lot of people think Revivify is a new product. They actually launched 15 years ago as a sprayable PPF. Not many people know that. And it's still, that business is huge overseas. The only reason we don't have it here is because VOC compliant issues. And you have to have a spray booth here to do that. So 9 years ago, they launched the hand applied version. I mean, theoretically, if you look at Revivify, it's one of the very first as well. People don't know that. And it's different technology. It's not a ceramic coating at all. And that's just the evolution of yet another, another protection product that's out on the market. And it's not going to be the last. Like this company that I'm working with in Germany, they're picking my brain for a lot of information they need because this new skin is going to arrive. And it's like I've held it in my hands. It's 10 times the strength of PPF and a third of the thickness.
Wow.
Literally, it's incredibly powerful. And people
and it's conductive, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's electric. You probably can say these words better than me because they've shared them with me, and they have a very heavy German accent. But yes, it's electric, and it's layered in 2 different layers. The first one is the electric magnetic system that they have to, and you can see when it's off, you can see all the lines, and then this new skin that goes over it that actually covers the lines. There's like all these millions of lines. It looks like it drove through a fishing net, and it's like,
oh wow,
it looks really cool. And then there's 2 things they're accomplishing with this, and this is first generation. They just got their second round of funding, and they're going like crazy. You'll probably see it in the next 5 years, maybe a little less. But they're accomplishing 2 things with this new skin, and it's going to be where you turn it on everything is going to be remotely done from your cell phone. You want to change the color of your car while you're driving or before you go out to the car. Also, you'll be able to Bluetooth it if you're out in the middle of the snow or ice and you turn it on, and it literally melts all the snow and ice off the car. So they're accomplishing.
As you know, I could use that here, right?
Yeah. They're accomplishing some cool things. And like I said, to answer your question, I mean, we can go on for hours on this topic, but people should just open up their minds and be open-minded that technology has arrived. And, the car care industry, look where it's come today. And trust me, it doesn't stop here. If detailers really think that PPF or Revivify silicone coating or ceramic or any of these things are the end-all be-all, wake up, because it's not. And these chemists don't sit around and do nothing. When I flew to Taiwan, I actually thought that after 14 years of doing these ceramic coatings, wow, can you believe I'm saying 14 years? 48 years in years. This is my 29th visit to SEMA.
Wow. I'm about half that. So
yeah. So when I flew to Taiwan, I thought, wow, I'm an expert in ceramic coatings. I've used a bunch of them, a couple dozen of the coatings. I even, as you know, launched my own ceramic coating, which I took off the market. But I thought I was really good. When I went to Taiwan and this chemist, who's a 35-year veteran in this industry, he's actually one of the most well-respected chemists in all of Asia. He's the chemist all of the chemists go to. He's
Nice.
really talented. Yeah, and he's the ID Corporation and Revivify. And I thought I was flying over for the 10-day training to actually learn about Revivify and everything about it. But the first 4 days of the 10-day training was all about ceramic first, because he really wanted to drill into all of us that were there the evolution. So we understand where it came from and where it's, I don't know, not many people know this, but the ceramic coating industry launched about 30 years ago.
Yep.
And it was designed for anti-graffiti. They would spray it and roll it on like shipping containers or, semi-truck trailers, anything that would get tagged, or railroad cars, get sprayed and tagged. And then what they did is they sprayed it on real thick and they rolled it real thick. And so it could clean up easy if it got tagged.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, many years later that it launched as an automotive protection product. And he explained to us that at the thicknesses that we apply these coatings on the car, including Revivify, you're talking about such a minor thin layer. Don't expect it to, be all, bulletproof. We drive our cars down the freeway at 80 miles an hour. Trust me, there's nothing, not film, not anything that's going to offer our customers 100% protection. Eventually, it's inevitable. You're going to get your first bit of damage. And if it's film, you'll have damage in your film. And if it's unsightly, it's not like you can fix it like we can fix paint. You have to actually pull it and replace it so you have the nice looking car again. And I really think that there's so many things that are going to change the industry in the next 5 to 10 years, that it's going to be, scary for some, but if you're open-minded, it's also going to be fun. Because I like the Germans are asking me, they're letting me know that this new skin that they're going to develop, you cannot put PPF over it. They're only going to allow hand-applied liquid coatings to protect the film. And the interest they have in me is because it came out of Taiwan to them first, then to me, because this is the type of coating that they're looking for to protect this skin. And film will be an interruption to the overall performance of the skin. It'll stop it from working. So they can't have that thick of a layer. So these coatings will be really advantageous, and whatever coating is out at that time. I tell people Revivify is, we're really big right now. We're growing very fast. But again, it's not the last thing that we're going to see. There's, everyone's trying to knock off everyone else, and everyone's trying to outdo each other,
or
and
just rebottle, relabel, like we do, right?
There's everything out there, and we just have to be prepared. And smart business guys, we do have a lot. I'll be honest, we have a lot of knuckleheads in this industry that are closed-minded. Kevin, when you started your training program, your business training program, it was a painstaking endeavor to watch you go down that path, because I knew what you were going to be up against.
Right.
I've been training for so long, and I've been down that road, and I go, oh God, man, I prayed for you. I was like, oh God, please watch over Kevin. I don't want him to jump off his new barn roof, Anyway, interesting when people have an open mind and they're running a business, it kills me to see how fast that they'll buy the next new machine or the next new set of chemicals or the next new hot product, but they won't spend the time and plug into Kevin Davis's business show. That's really what this is all about, because it doesn't matter how well you clean a car. It doesn't matter how great the job you do. If you don't know how to run a business, you're going to suffer the consequences of the lack of knowledge of how to run the business. And that means no money. You and I, you've been in long enough. The students, the divorces I've seen, with husbands getting involved in this business and getting so sucked in to I want to say this, the bragging rights part of the business, where they feel so good because they can go on social media now and show the world and all the other detail. Hey, look at me. I'm doing PPF. Hey, look at me. Look at this job I did on the car. And the reality is, on the other side of that relationship is the wife saying, hey, this is all well and good. Where's the money?
Right.
We got mortgage due this month. We got to feed the kids. We got rent to pay, and I think with everything that is happening right now, it couldn't be, Kevin, isn't this the greatest time for the car care industry? All the tools are available at your fingertips. Social media to go get a client. When it kills me when somebody says to me, I can't get a customer. Like, oh my gosh, man. Everything is at your fingertips to grow a very good business. I believe with all my heart, I don't think anybody's done this. myself, Rennie Doyle for sure, where an organization has been built.
Mm-hmm.
But still, nobody has tapped into where you'll see similar things to like Shell gas station or McDonald's or a Taco Bell, coast to coast, where you'll see a car care center and it's the branded one and it's the McDonald's of car care. No one's done that yet, and it's going to happen. Somebody's going to come in and they're going to have, deep pockets. They're going to be able to put something together. They're going to build a business and systems and procedures that will really make that happen. And it'll include a lot of things. So, Paul and I talk about it all the time, where I don't think anybody's really tapped into all the, very small portion have we tapped into the car care industry and what it has to offer. I mean, knowing what I know now at 66 years old, if I was to go back with all this knowledge, Kevin, game over. Game over. I'd be on top of the world right now. I'd be like, who knows, but, and there's people out there that have the same drive that guys like you and I have. They're young enough and, they're talented enough and they have the energy. We're going to see that in our lifetime. We're going to see this happen. It'll grow to that level. Just somebody has to take the reins and run with it.
And really making that combination to make these destination shops that are quick. They do great work. They kind of combine the best parts of car wash, the best parts of detailing, the best parts of protection. They throw in a little Starbucks or a nail salon or a friggin' 10-minute massage. Like, if anybody's listening to this is wants to give me about $50 million, I'll make all this happen. But, you got to have some deep pockets to do that. It's interesting what you talk about with the technology, because it seems, and I wonder if you agree with this, but it seems like it's not a linear growth, right? We have not seen a linear growth curve with the technology in the industry. It seems to be kind of like stair step. So like waxes came out and then they kind of did their thing for a while. And then you had the next thing,
correct.
Early PPF. And then you had ceramic coatings or, and sealants and all of these things. And I feel like that we're kind of in this, a little bit of, coating based stair right now. We're kind of on that rise and run.
You just nailed it. What happens is when something comes into this industry and it works, everyone sticks with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good saying, if it works, why fix it, right?
Right.
If it's not broken, don't fix it. So they stick with it. And then pretty soon when enough change comes, you're right, they go from that plateau, it goes up again, and then another plateau and then they stick with it.
Yeah.
There's nobody really just going straight up. And that's what I say. The technology is here. Somebody just has to take the bull by the horns and start making that happen. Great point. You were absolutely right. It's definitely, when you look at a career like a Tiger Woods and what he was able to do in his career, where I saw an interview on him where most golfers in the industry, a large percentage of the golfers, for 1 year, their name is on top. 2 years, they're in the bottom. Then all of a sudden they skyrocket to the top again. Then they're back on the bottom and their career is up and down. Hopefully more ups than downs. And that's what gives them the notoriety and the level of celebrity status.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tiger Woods was different. His went up and down, but his went up and down on a constant upward curve. So his downs were never as low as his highs. So his grid went from down here and just kept going up. And he changed the industry of golf.
Yeah.
First billionaire athlete. I mean, obviously, look what he was able to do and look at the changes he made. And that's where I think a lot of these detailers need to, I'm not going to say put their pride aside because it's very prideful to own your own business, but definitely they got to start putting away their egos. And instead of, fighting each other and backstabbing, and it's a very ugly political side of the business I don't wish upon anybody. It's so funny because guys like you and I that are leaders, Prentice Sinclair, Rennie Doyle, Joel LaPlante, Peter and Adam and Joanna and Brent over at Ceramic Pro. These are all people that are leaders in the industry and we're good friends.
Mm-hmm.
At the top, we're not doing the backstabbing and cutthroating and hating each other. It's down below. And if people would realize that we're all in this together, we're all in this to grow an industry. And if it grows and we all stick together, it might be falling on deaf ears right now, but if everybody would learn to build their businesses and support each other, the consumer sees that. It makes the industry more viable. It makes a more inviting industry and a more profitable one because that way everybody grows instead of dropping prices. You're seeing right now with ceramic coatings, which is, as you know, taught at every Ivy League business school in the world, that once a product hits market saturation, the labor index automatically falls, both on the manufacturing side and the actual applicators putting these coatings on the car. For God's sakes, Kevin, I'm seeing Facebook ads now. We'll ceramic coat your car for $199.95. It's just happening, and that's just how that works. Give a good example would be flat screen TVs. Think about 25 years ago when two companies, two electronic big names, made the first two flat screen TVs. They were $15,000, $20,000 to buy one. And today you can go to Best Buy and buy one for $99.95.
Right. Yeah.
There's no money in it. There's no profit in it. They're coming from all different countries now, very cheap, very inexpensive, and they're depending on volume.
Yeah.
So it shows you that once a product hits, and it happens in all industries, a product will eventually hit market saturation. And think about us, I'm pretty sure you were around when we got into gold plating in the 80s. That was a big money maker. I mean, we're getting $50 to $150, $200 a badge to gold plate it and then put it back on. And look at, within 4 years of that, the machine got really cheap. The chemicals, the plating got really cheap. And, it was a fad on top of it, but it went away.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. And you're just seeing a change right now in the industry. I'm making all these sales calls. I mean, we're averaging a lot of leads every day coming in for Revivify. And, Kevin, I'm learning more. You never think, the things that I'm learning and what I'm hearing from all these people who are involved in the industry and offering coatings and film. Here's the one biggest complaint, and I make a list. And after 4 years now of selling Revivify and getting these applications coming in, reviewing them, calling them, the guys are burned out, dude. They're burned out. They're frustrated. They're tired. There's so much misleading and deceptive marketing information that they've been led down a path. This is coming directly from them. They feel like, what's the truth, what's not, what's real, what's not real. And yet when a guy like Mel Craig comes, it doesn't matter how much credibility I have or don't have, it's another product. And yet it's like, wow, okay, here's another product. You try to convince me it's different. And that's very difficult to do, especially when there are guys out there who are now burned out about all this. What does work? What doesn't work? How do I really make money in this business? And when I listen to somebody, who do I listen to? That's what killed me, because guys like you who start a business show, I promoted you big time. I told everyone, man, this guy's got an awesome program. You got to listen to him. It's almost like you have a built-in. Most people know what a business coach is. They're expensive. I have one.
I've got one too.
Yeah,
and I do it. So.
If they plug in to somebody, on a weekly basis or at least a monthly basis, even just to bounce around business ideas or before you make a decision. Right now, being the president of Revivify and being the president of the Detailing Pros and such a big organization now, I learned that I can't make these decisions on my own. I'm not that talented. I'm not that good. You look in the mirror when you realize I'm great at making a car look awesome. But when it comes to the business world, I'm okay. But I need help with it. I think all of us do. And I have 5 men that are on what I call my board of advisors. All 5 of these guys, 3 of them are my customers that I met years and years ago, and 2 of them are just good friends. And I don't do anything anymore without running it by them. I do not make a business decision without calling at least Alan or Dennis right away. I bounce it off them. So, a lot of times I get mad because I don't like what they tell me to do.
That's a terrible idea.
Every time I've listened to them, I want to go to their house and kiss their feet and thank them. God gave me a lot of money, And if guys would listen and swallow their pride and ego and say, "Wow, maybe I should reach out to guys like you, or even me, or Rennie Doyle, or Prentice St. Clair, some of these guys who really have knowledge." Over many years, it's not a college degree that you or I need.
Hey, that little thing on your phone when you search and you say business near me? Well, people aren't finding you when they search for ceramic coating near me, detailing near me, tint shop near me, PPF shop near me. They're not finding you as well as they should, or they're not finding you in the areas that you'd like to. Detailer's Roadmap has a solution. I want to introduce our new Google Business and Maps Accelerator. We have got this great new program that not only gives you an opportunity to do some search engine optimization, SEO, but in a very specific way that is designed to be map friendly, Google business friendly, and in order to get you more leads in areas that you're currently in and areas that you also want to target that may be slightly out of your own area. So go to detailersroadmap.com, use that little schedule a demo button at the top, and tell them in that form that you want to do the Google Business and Maps Accelerator program. Take a look at that. It's very cost effective and a very entry level price, and it's awesome.
It's all this knowledge and wisdom and things that we've learned over many years that we can share so that they don't go down a path of negativity. They don't go. God, some of my teaching over all these years has been teaching not necessarily what to do to be a success, but what not to do to be a success.
Right.
And I think guys like you who started, that program, I'm not even sure if you still do it or if you got burnt out.
I did a whole bunch of YouTube videos, and they were well received, and
good.
Then sort of people, which the good news is that other people started coming in and teaching about business aspects. And so I kind of said, I'm over it. I kind of talked about everything I wanted to talk about, and then I let somebody else do it. But I was having this discussion over the weekend, actually, with a few business owners, and I made the statement that I feel like I'm a better I'm a good enough business person that you can pretty much throw most businesses in my lap, and I can find the faults. I can see a path forward. I can fix those things, and I can probably make it moderately successful. What I'm not is I had a full-time detail shop before Detailer's Helper and before all these brands and before that, which I still have. I have multiple businesses. I'm not the best detailer in the world, and I would never pretend to be that. But in a very short amount of time, I was able to build a really good business out of detailing. Not because it was detailing, but because it's a business.
Excellent. Yeah, that's really what it's. If you run a business, it doesn't mean you have to be the best.
Yeah.
Like Chris Jankowski told me that day, Mel, we clean cars for a living. I mean, Paul Weiler and I and Jason Rose, we used to hang out in my shop in Oceanside back in 2005, 6, and 7. And we used to just like break out the Coronas out of the refrigerator and sit in the back and just test and play. Yeah. Jason was really into that. He'd bring stuff and then we just test and play. And, we learned from that. We actually learned a lot from that. But what Chris was telling me is the more we learned, the more we tried to adapt it to training. And I think we oversaturated that. But you're right. If you're like Paul and I said, you could literally spend 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days cleaning a car, from polishing to interior to exterior to wheels, whatever it is you're going to do. You could spend that time, but is there any money in it?
Yeah.
That's the part where, I know a lot of detailers that do what they call mini detailing, and they do 3 or 4 of those a day, and they're making money hand over fist, very profitable. Where there's guys that I'm a paint correction specialist, and you see them on Facebook, and I did this and I did that, and I know for a fact that a very large percentage of the detailers today are really broke. They don't have money. They're making enough to make ends meet. But there's only a handful of guys out there that are really profitable and really have done well for themselves. And ironically, you see those guys as leaders.
Yeah.
Eventually they show themselves and they become leaders because they've done it right.
Which is funny because you might see a detailer, and I always distinguish between detailing business owner or business owners that happen to be owners of detailing shops versus detailers. And there's nothing wrong with detailers. But you see this braggadocious thing where, and I always pick on this, but they're showing their watch at 2 a.m, all that stuff, which I'm thinking to myself, first of all, where are your wife and kids? And you're stupid, because obviously there's something wrong with your business. I would rather see a guy post a picture of him sitting on a beach with a split screen of his staff making $2,000 a day while he sits on a beach.
Yeah.
Like that to me represents more success than bragging about how late you work or the paint that you polish, or, we talked about that this weekend too. It's like, well, how perfect should I strive to make the car?
Yeah.
And I'm like, how much does the customer want to spend? That's I don't care if the customer wants to spend X number of dollars and I can get it to, and what their expectations are, and I can get it to 65% and they are overjoyed and I have money in my pocket. That's a success. Like, I'm not going to do 90% if they don't have the money to do it. Right.
Kevin, I mean, that's something I've been teaching for years is learn to leave well enough alone. Because a lot of times the customer well enough is good enough for them and they're very happy with the results. Most customers don't see what we see. And so they're just overexcited when they see their car all shiny and beautiful and they feel good about their car. You don't see many customers, but you're right. I mean, if you're going to spend 2, 3, 4 days paint correcting a car, customers aren't going to pay the price tag that goes along with that. So the longer it takes you to do it. Here's something else, Kevin. I really, hopefully your listeners will resonate with this. The average consumer today, the average homeowner today owns 2.25 cars. That's if you break down the average. So when you take away their transportation for a day, it hurts.
Yeah.
Because now they're getting an Uber, or the wife has to pick up the husband and take him, and then she has to drive over and pick up the daughter to go to ballet. People don't realize that when you're taking on somebody's vehicle and then you decide, well, I thought it would be one day, but I'll make the call. Hey, Kevin, I'm sorry. It's going to take another day and another day. What the inconvenience that you're causing. So when you're telling a customer you're charging them $1,000 to do this project, the reality is they might be paying up to $2,000 because of the inconvenience financially that you've created on top of, the work that you have to do with the extended time frame you've added to the job, meaning they're out of their car and they need that vehicle. The average family only has 2 cars and they need them both, sooner than later. I mean, we've been in shops, my own shop, where I've had customers go, "Can I sit and wait?" That's a little extreme, but yeah. They've done that to me. Hey, can I just, if I show up, I'll drop. How long will it take? About an hour? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we have a chair rental fee of $250 an hour. Wait as long as you'd like. So you're still training. So my guess is that, and you can answer this whether or not this is true. Are you training people that have been in the industry for a couple of years, 5 years, 10 years?
Well, maybe you haven't found. I actually retired last year from training, so I no longer.
Well, I mean, let's say over the last decade.
We'll answer your question. So I have retired from training. I promote the other guys out there who I think do good training. I speak very highly of Rennie Doyle and his crew, and I there's not many trainers that I respect because I don't believe they have paid the price to actually be a trainer, and there's a price to pay. But yes, when students come to me from all walks of life, young, old, just getting started to veterans in the industry, I've trained them all. I truly, my favorite student would be the brand new person just getting started, because I can truly take that student and mold them and bring them where they really need to be. And it doesn't mean I don't train veterans. I've trained lots of them. And they go out and have more success, but they're a lot harder to train. They're stuck in their ways. And the problem they have is once they leave the training session, it's their job to fulfill the obligation of taking that training and now implementing it. For example, I'm a professional shooter. I shoot pistols, and I shoot in the IDPA.
Is that allowed in your state? I thought that was illegal in Huntington Beach.
That's a whole nother podcast show. So, but I go every Friday to meet my trainer. He's training me how to negotiate the competitive stages to do the shooting, right? So I go to him every Friday. And here's the difference between what we train in the industry and what I'm doing with this guy. He trains me. So when I come back next Friday, which is in 2 days, he's expecting me to do what he taught me the Friday before. He keeps me on track. Hey, man, it doesn't look like you practice. What are you doing here? Are you wasting our time? I mean, he calls me out, right? Yeah. And what happens with the type of training we do in car care, when the student comes for a 3-day or a 4-day or a 5-day, whatever the training they sign up for, once they leave that training, the discipline now becomes self-imposed. The discipline is now, are you disciplined enough to take that training and now implement it? However uncomfortable it is. It's like when you go to a personal trainer, I'm watching you all the time with your push-ups, your set. You and Michelle both. You guys are like, dude, I've lost 8 pounds because I can't let these young guys take
nice.
I got to look good. So
I'm going to come do push-ups in your booth at SEMA. We're ready to go.
So, when you guys train or you train somebody, they have to report to you once a week for their training session.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they haven't done what they're done a week before, everyone gets slowed down. But the ironic part is they know they're coming on Saturday to your house to go through their push-up, whatever training program you have for them, and they got to answer for that,
Mm-hmm.
right? The obligation that a guy who pays for training, whether he goes to Rennie's shop or Mel Craig or anybody, Jason Rose at Rupees, it doesn't matter how well we train them. The discipline falls on top of their shoulders after they leave. That's when the training starts, because now they have to take what we taught them and use it and consistently use it so that it becomes second nature to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you first start working out, anybody that comes to Kevin wants training physically. You start working out, their first 3 weeks, they're dying. They hate you.
Yeah.
You know, the ibuprofen isn't enough. They need heroin, you know, like they're so bad. You know, but as long as they keep at it, pretty soon their body adapts to it. And now all of a sudden they're looking good and they're feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
They're eating better. They're sleeping better. No more stress. I mean, there's a reason for, doing a workout. Well, again, when you think about our training programs, it's a one-shot deal. And now the discipline, again, falls back onto the student, whoever went through that. Now he's got to take that training and implement it and stick to it, even though it's uncomfortable. Like I tell people, quit being on your hands and knees when you're doing vertical works. Either get a lift or learn the techniques that I teach so that you're not on your hands and knees doing vertical work on a car. That kills your body, kills your knees. Trust me, I'm 66 years old in 1 week. And my shoulders, my wrists, my hands, everything, I'm a wreck because no one taught me technique. And now the techniques that I've learned over the years, you don't have to get on your hands and knees. You're going to be 10 times faster doing vertical work than ever before, much better work, and you're not on your hands and knees.
Yep.
But they go back home, even though I showed, Mel taught me that. And you know what, tomorrow I'll do that car that way. But right now I just got to do it my way because
I got to get this done. Got to get this done. Yep.
They fall back into their comfort zone and they never succeed.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, it's like, because it's not an accountable training program. It's not like they have to show up next week and I kick them in the butt and say, no, get back up on your feet, quit being on your hands and knees, that type of thing.
Yeah, I think with Rennie's training, I think because of the mafia aspect and the ability for them to engage with each other, I think it probably does a little bit better with that. But most training programs are not doing that. There's no follow-up. Come, do the 2-day training, which 90% of the time probably only includes minimal business stuff. But my favorite line and kind of the, you got these red flag alerts, right? If somebody says, well, I've been doing this for 25 years, I'm like, well, it's going to be a rough weekend for you.
Yeah. First day of class, I always tell everybody, just take off your blinders. I just beg you to throw away everything you've learned and just open up to what I'm about to teach you. It's harder to teach a veteran than it is a new guy. And, I always cringe when veterans want to take my class. I do the best I can. The nice thing about veterans is they do understand what I've taught them will work. Mm-hmm. And usually the veterans will try to make the change because they know it's going to be worthwhile if they see success. Check the fruit on the tree. I mean, I do a full paint correction on a car in 3 to 4 hours, not 3 to 4 days. You got to get it done.
Yeah.
Choice of pads, choice of equipment, choice of tools is one thing, but technique plays a big part in that. And you've got to adapt to that and make those changes so you can have success. And you're right. A lot of these trainers they show up and they don't teach anything about business. Mm-hmm. As you know, my first whole day of class is about business, how to make the business work. It's like when you go to medical school. Yeah, I'm sure you want a scalpel and you want to go cut open a human cadaver and do heart surgery. But no, you're in the books for the first couple of years, before they put a knife in your hand. You've got to learn what the knife does, and that's what my class is. Man, I want to teach you what is a compound, what is a polish, what are they made of? How do you know how they work? You get a result. Well, why did you get the result on this paint? And some people don't realize that, like McGuire's M205. I might start with it today at the end of the day, polishing a car. And then tomorrow outside, even though I have a climate controlled environment, tomorrow the temperature dropped 15 degrees. I may not have the same result picking up where I left off and finishing the car. So I have to make a change, a chemical change. And people don't realize that chemicals do that. And that's what you have to learn about. This is all part of the training program that I think, people need to listen to and adapt to, because they'll become more successful and they'll start to figure out why they're getting the results they're getting and how to get them better and faster.
Yeah. So when you if somebody comes and says, Mel, what are the top 3 things I need to understand about the detailing business? I'll put you on the spot and ask that question.
Well, we already hit one. If you're going to get into the detailing business, learn the business. Get educated before you invest a dime. Don't go buy tools. Don't go buy supplies. Don't do any of that. The first thing you should invest in is even if it's a seminar, for God's sakes, get acclimated or get some sort of education on what you're about to do. No businessman in the business world in other industries, it starts investing money into something unless he does research,
Right.
because it's a stupid investment if you don't have some way to back it up. It goes back to the simple business principle of, do you have a business plan? For example, if you want to get an investor or you want to get a loan from a bank to start your business, well, the investor or the bank, the one thing they're going to ask you is, show me your business plan, because I want you to prove to me that you have a plan of action so that if I give you this money, I'm getting it back. So
Yeah.
first thing to answer your question is get business acclimated before you start your business. Second thing is stay away from all the YouTube social media training programs that are out there without getting valid or verification that what you're watching or looking at has validity, has substantial backing, because there's too many people out there putting out way too bad of information, very misleading and deceptive information. And if you pick up on that and you go that direction, it can be very damaging to your overall career. That's very, very important. And last but not least, getting in this business, learn balance. Learn the difference between the time you need to spend in your business and the time you need to spend personally, whether you're with yourself or with your wife or kids, because I see so much unbalance, Kevin. It's really way out of whack. A lot of these detailers are working, 6 and 7 days a week, 10, 12, 14 hours a day just to make ends meet. And if you look at yourself in the mirror and really ask yourself, is this really what this is supposed to be like? The answer is no. I don't work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I only work. I've been this way now for the past 8 years. I only work Monday through Thursday. I work 9 to 5. I'm off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I worked my way out of all that, and I was able to put my business together where financially I didn't have to work all those hours. I understand starting a business, you put everything you got into it, but your goal is to ultimately reach balance in business.
Yeah.
I love guys like you because I see you and Michelle spending so much time together, and Barry McGuire and Karen, and you see these, Rennie and his wife. I mean, you see people that have balance. Yeah, they're working their butt off when they work, but when it's time to be off work, it's time to be off work. And that balance is really important. A lot of the detailers who are married or they have a significant other don't realize that when you're intruding on her time or vice versa, her time onto his time, it can be very detrimental, and nobody wants resentment in a relationship. And especially when there's no money, especially with a guy working, 6, 7 days a week, all those hours a day and nothing to show for it. So yeah, those 3 things are very, if I was to teach somebody in a couple-minute question, those would be my 3 tips.
100% agree. It's interesting. I had a conversation with a guy this morning and we were talking about work-life balance, and we were kind of talking about really what is, in my opinion, is kind of the fallacy of balance. I like to think of it more as a teeter-totter, right? Instead of because the teeter-totter, first of all, is never in balance unless you have somebody on both sides that weigh exactly the same. There's always one side or the other going up and down. And I made the statement, I'm like, and honestly, that's what's fun about a teeter-totter, is the going up and the going down. And so you kind of, if you put it on that work-life scenario, there's always going to be one in the down and one on the up. The question and the trick is to figure out how to make those go up and down relatively equally, right? Or in my case, I would rather have the life balance be the focus and then have the work part of it. And this is from a guy that has way too many brands and too many businesses and all this other crap that I do. But I want to use the business side of my teeter-totter to push my life and to continue to build my life, because I'm 50, you're older than I am, obviously. But we've been around long enough to see what a lot of people don't see. And to your point, if you're completely out of balance on the work side, like, dude, if you want to work 75 hours a week and you're single and have no really much else going on while you build your business, go for it. If you've got a family at all or a significant other, you need to really look at that.
Watch it. You know, something else too on that note is that when people are building a business, when they're actually trying to grow something, and I see this happening more now than ever because of all the manufacturers and their marketing influence on today's detailer, where, you know, when you're growing a business, please, you guys, stay focused on that business. Grow it, become profitable before you venture off into the next business venture. What that means, Kevin, is a lot of these guys today aren't even profitable detailing cars yet, and now they're going into the film industry. You know, then they're not even profitable in film, and now they're going to offer tint. And next thing you know, they're offering way too much, and that creates that off balance. You shouldn't be investing in, you know, film is a completely different business. As you know, 15, 20 years ago, film was a completely different industry altogether. And it isn't until recent years that, because there's so many manufacturers now, they're going for the low-hanging fruit to sell their product. And that low-hanging fruit happens to be the detailers today. They're a perfect candidate. And I'm not saying it's a great fit. The problem is, if you're not profitable in your car detailing or paint correction business, don't go taking that money and investing it into film, because now you're asking your detailing business to support your film business. And it won't support either, because it wasn't supporting you by itself. And now you've added another business to it that you're going to ask it to support. And you end up creating you're digging yourself into such a deep hole you'll never get out. You know, I'm not saying don't get in film. It's a great business. PPF is going to be here for a long time. The issue I face is that when you invest in a film business, now you're investing in an inventory. You're investing in a learning curve, because we all know after you take, you know, a couple day training, which is very underrated. I think it should be at least 6 or 7 days of training. But nonetheless, you go to a couple of days of training. Now you've got the learning curve. The learning curve could be 6 months up to a year, maybe longer for some people, before they really get it down and they're actually making money. So you don't invest in something like that until your focus and your core business, your core income has been created, and there's enough money in the bank to start saying, okay, now I can diversify. You know, in fact, I have a guy in my shop that's actually managing my core business, and he's keeping it going perfect. So I can take some time, go to this training, and I'm going to start keeping this business managed, but I'll now start investing some money and time into my film business, because now I'm at a point in my career where I've got enough money in the bank, I'm profitable, and I've excess dispensable income that I can put towards this. But no, the guys are being told by these companies and these manufacturers, oh, jump into PPF, take a couple days class, and you're going to go make a lot of money. And they're not teaching them correctly. That's not good.
Yeah, because you can you can make money, but it's a much higher overhead than you know,
a very expensive
$500 for a polisher and $50 for a bottle of polish, and you know, all that. But like, you're talking about a $5,000 or $10,000 plotter, and you're a couple of grand into training, and I don't know what inventory. I don't run a film shop, so but inventory is expensive, so there's a lot of money involved in that.
It costs a lot to buy, you know, and now there's different roles, there's different types of film, and some of these guys are buying different companies' films, and it really is an expensive thing, and you really should think about that. I don't want to discourage people,
right?
Nor do you, to become great business people. But there are stepping stones that need to be taken, you know, to that approach to find that end result. I mean, gosh, you know, I've only been a detailer all my life. Have I gotten to film? Have I got into? Of course I have, and that's what makes me a trainer. That's what makes because I've experienced all this. So you get this from experience, not from just me making something up, or Kevin Davis making something up, or Rennie making something up. It's all about what we have to offer in wisdom up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
and I mean, learn from our own failures. You know, my business coach is like, dude, so I did this thing where I actually did the task lists of everything I do across all my businesses. And it was freaking ridiculous, by the way. But he was like, I cannot believe that you have not built a bigger and better team in order to do all this. That's why you have stagnated in your growth. And so like, even somebody that's been, you know, it's like 28 years I've been self-employed. Like, even somebody like that, I'm guilty of that, because you know, shiny object syndrome and many roads to revenue and all of those things. And so what you're saying affects all of us, because it's easy to go down that road. But being able to have that grounding is something that's super important. And to my point, my own point, which is build a team. Make sure you have a team involved of some sort in order to do those things.
Yeah, it's all, like I said, when you can look in the mirror and when you admit 2009 was my eye opener, as you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people all over the world took a beating, and I felt cheated. I felt ripped off because I has always been successful up till then. And when everything was gone in 2009, I could have easily quit. My attorney told me to quit. Friends and family said, Mel, you had a great run. You made great money. It's time for you to move on to something else. And I said, no, this is what I know. This is what I know how to do. And, that it really, when we think about it, that was only 14 years ago.
Yeah. It's not that long.
What I rebuilt, I pulled my bootstraps up. And, for those of you out there, all of you listening to this show, that wall is coming. Mm-hmm. When you're in business, if you don't think for 1 second, you're not going to hit a wall. You're out of your mind. The wall might be a little wooden pick and fence and you can knock it over with your feet. Yeah. It might be a little brick wall you could step over. But some days you're going to hit a wall that's so high and so wide and so thick, you sit there and go, how the hell am I ever going to get out of this? Mm-hmm. And yet you can.
Yeah.
If you stay focused and if you stay true to what you're doing, if you get help and support, you can accomplish anything. Those walls become conquerable. They really do. It might take some time. It isn't going to happen overnight. But in my case, in 2009 and 10 were some of the worst times of my life. Look where I'm at today. Yeah. I'm retiring. I've got a business that I just sold. It's a very nice profit out of that. I mean, I've created something great. I've created a brand. A lot of people say, how do I do it? I'm no different than any of the newest guys coming into the industry. I teach people, don't be aggressive because nobody likes aggressive people. But by all means, be assertive because it's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. And when you see opportunities flash in front of you, you need to jump on them correctly and build your brand. You need to get your brand. Why is Mel Craig? I think it's 18 countries on 4 continents I've traveled to teach, train, and certify people in this industry. What a humbling experience, Mm-hmm. To have people come from all over the world to come and visit me. What a humbling experience that is. You don't need an ego because, man, the humble pride part of that is way better than any ego I could ever have.
Yeah.
It's like when I go to SEMA and people want to talk to me and stuff, I stop to try to give them all the best time. I take every phone call. This thing has been flashing like crazy. I still take all my calls to this day. Some of the students or some of the applicators that call me about Revivify and they want to talk about becoming an applicator, I answer the phone. They go, wait, am I really talking to Mel Craig? How humbling is that? So cool to hear that. But yeah, you are talking to me because I'm not so egoed out that I'm not going to pick up. I feel like this is my brand. This is my name. Yes, it's from Taiwan and, the Taiwanese own this, but I take it to heart. I take it personal because I want all my students and applicators to have massive success out there. Yeah. Just like you do. People don't realize, guys like you and I, Kevin, when they don't see the intensity and the responsibility that we carry on our shoulders. When I lay my head on my pillow during training week and I go home and I go to sleep, I lay down, I think to myself, God, am I giving these guys everything I've got? Mm-hmm. Are they getting their money's worth? Am I pouring my heart and soul into this for them? Because, Kevin, we don't know where they come from. Some of our students, we don't know their personal life. All we know is they signed up for class. We don't know if that was their last penny.
Yeah.
Their wife and him pitched in and the family pitched in and got him here to training to get through this. We don't know that. Mm-hmm. And if you don't take that responsibility and wear it, man, you're blowing it because the responsibility that we have as trainers is their future. They're saying, man, I just gave this guy $6,000 of my money for spending time with him. Man, I sure hope he's giving me the best information because I got to go home and take care of my kids and my wife and my family. And too many trainers today are taking people's money and they don't think twice about that. And it's guys like us that responsibility, people can't fathom what that's like. I mean, to be emotional over it, when I'm graduating the students on Friday and I'm handing them certifications to this day, just last week, graduating 4 new students. It's hard for me every time I graduate them because I'm speaking from the heart and I get emotional and they see it. And I don't cry or anything, but you can see in my voice and my temperament that, I don't hand those out lightly.
Yeah.
I earned a third degree black belt in martial arts, and I ended up having my own school. And I remember some of the black belts that my instructors above me were failing. It doesn't matter that you paid me your fee to get your black belt. You didn't pass. Now you got to suffer the consequences, go back into training for 6 months, up to a year, and then test again. A lot of those people quit.
Yeah.
But the trainer really had their best interests at heart, because they're not just going to hand them the belt.
Yeah.
When we train people, what we're trying to do is let them know, man, we feel the responsibility. We know that when you're coming to us for information and help and support, that you're really expecting us to give you the advice you're looking for, because that advice is what you're going to use to go take care of the family, whatever it is.
Yeah. And to do it with a certain amount of humility too, to say, look, this is where I come from. These are the kind of things that worked out great, things that haven't worked out great. Between the time we've known each other, you and I both have done things that have gone well. I just killed another couple of brands.
Yeah.
We've done things that you and I have worked on together that didn't necessarily go the way either of us, kind of had hoped, as we talked about those things. But to be able to say, look, I've gone through this stuff, but I take great, and I love that, because I don't think I've heard anybody else talk about the fact that there is a certain responsibility, and a pretty big one, big responsibility when you're trying to teach people, for me, when I was a personal trainer, like I can have the power to change their lives by doing personal training. However, I'm not affecting their ability to earn a living necessarily if I give them the wrong exercise to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're training someone how to actually start and run a business, and they're investing a fair amount of money, which is a lot of times a crap ton of money if you're getting good training, there is a responsibility there to make sure that you do it right. So,
and I try to tell people, when people call me and they're telling me about different schools they're going to, I don't badmouth anybody. People should know that, nothing good comes out of putting down your competitor ever. But I do try to let them know, be careful of, I try to, hey man, whether you use me or not, that's cool. If you want some recommendations or if somebody says something to me like, hey, I'm looking at you and I'm looking at Randy, I would say right off the bat, 2 good choices. How can I help?
Yeah, right.
Because you got 2 good choices, right? But if somebody says they're going to blah blah school, and I don't know them, and I just try to say, be very, very careful of this, because what you're doing is you're asking somebody to train you, and who's driving the ship, and is it going to get to the port on time and safe? And your job is to, research this. Don't be afraid to ask, the training school you might go to, what credentials do they have? What gives them the right to stand in front of someone else and teach them and train them along the way? It's not like I have a license or anything. I'm registered with the state of California to offer post-secondary vocational training. I'm also registered with the Department of Veterans Affairs to offer veterans training. That took a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of energy. Some of the things I've learned, a lot of people don't know that if you charge anything over $2,500 for training, that's illegal if you're not licensed in the state, whatever state you're in. That's a federal law. So you got to be careful when you're charging people to go do training, because if you charge too much, they could actually, if they knew better, they could call you on that. You don't want that kind of stuff to happen. So the responsibility that guys like you and I wear, and the other leaders that I so respect, some of these guys that I've watched them grow, I'm one of the very first. I know that. I don't have to, that's not an ego thing. I just know I've been the first. And the cool part is I was a trendsetter, and I was glad. My dad opened up the very first restaurant in San Marcos. It was a little tiny, we called it Hayfield Heights growing up. There was nothing wrong. And he had the only restaurant. So every morning, his restaurant was full. And one day in high school, a bunch of guys came up to me, hey, Mel, there's another family moving in town, and they're going to open a restaurant. So me and my surfing buddies, we all went to my dad's restaurant. Hey, Dad, don't worry. All the families in San Marcos, we're going to go. We'll kick this family out. And my dad, my big dad, puts his arm around my neck and goes, no, you and Tommy and Jerry are going to take my big truck. You're helping them move in.
Yeah.
And I said, what? He goes, Mel, he said, when your ma and I moved here and opened up this restaurant, we're banking on this community growing.
Yeah.
And that signifies growth. Mel, I want more restaurants. and there'll be more. If he was alive today, that same town, San Marcos, has a place now called Restaurant Row. I mean, it's just filled with eating establishments, and it did grow, like he said, and the community grew. And there's plenty of room for growth. We all can just do this together and like build a great community in the auto appearance industry that can be unstoppable. You just got to kind of reverse what's happening right now. And, it's coming to an end for me, but like I said,
well, but you get to be in a position where you can mentor people and continue to feed into people, especially through Revivify and everything else. I don't want we've talked about the industry, but I don't want to leave, and I want to be respectful of your time. But I want to hear about Revivify.
Okay.
I've obviously worked for G-Technic. I've been around ceramic coatings for years, and I know that side of the things. But you and I have talked about it, but I want you to tell the other part of this. Like if I said, well, what's different from Revivify, and what does it do, and kind of.
Well, so remember, I think I shared this already, that when I flew to Taiwan, a 10-day training, I thought I was going to learn about Revivify. I mean, that's what there was 8 of us chosen to go to the training with the chemist. And this chemist is a 35-year veteran in the industry. And when I sat in his desk and looked behind him, he's got pictures with kings and queens. I mean, he's very respected, one of the most respected chemists in all of Asia. Some of the things I learned, like there's 23 platforms of chemistry is what I learned. And most chemists will master 1 or 2 in their entire career. Hermes has mastered 6.
Wow.
And his daughter has already mastered 3. So when you're listening to a guy like this and you're getting trained, like I said, when I went to Taiwan, I thought I was an expert in ceramic coatings. Wow, Kevin, we in this country don't know anything about ceramic coatings, how they're properly applied and how they're properly leveled. And I started asking all these applicators, who trained you? Oh, the sales rep or this guy. Well, I just got done, in Taiwan learning from the chemist himself. And so I'm glad you asked this question because, like I said, technology and chemistry is always going to evolve. It's not going to stay stagnant. It will go to the next level, from a wax to a sealant, from a sealant to a ceramic, from a ceramic to film. Whatever it's going to be, it's always going to evolve, and it's going to continue to evolve. And if you close your mind to that, you're being stupid. You're holding yourself back. So the chemistry in silica or titanium dioxide, or the combination of the two, the way it was explained to me, and it was really a great training, but it's 10 days long, so I got to cut it short. But the chemistry is a small box. And that chemistry can only go in any one direction a little bit. So what we learned is pretty much all of these ceramic coatings with the silica and the titanium dioxide, or the combination of these glass coatings, can only be fudged a little bit. So what the chemist was teaching us is this chemistry is very limited. So it can only be changed so much. In fact, what he said is if they want a new product, they actually have to develop a new formula. And in order to make that new formula, then they can create the next new product. But they can't change that chemistry very much. What it means to us as applicators in the industry is that one coating may be a little easier or harder to apply or level. That's what the difference would be. But for the most part, all of these coatings, performance-wise, are pretty much where they're at. When this terminology about 9H and 10H, wow, how misleading and deceptive it is. He has this machine, it's all computerized. I mean, you go to Taiwan, from the outside of everything, it looks all dirty and filthy. But you walk into the front door of any building and it's all high tech.
Yeah.
These guys are high tech stuff. Anyway, he has this gazillion-dollar piece of equipment, computerized piece of equipment, and he actually loads the pencils in. And he demonstrates pencil hardness because he wanted to make sure we were clear on the misleading part of that. So, all these different coatings and all these different ways that he set this up. And he punches in the number, and these pencils are all set up systematically, and it does the scratch test, 8 inches long. And every single coating failed all the way down to 5H. So what that means, Kevin, is that those scratches, especially 12H, went all the way. It even scratched the metal surface. That's how deep of a scratch it was. It's irreversible damage from there all the way to 5H. Now, Revivify, actually, that particular paint, which was PPG, and we tested all paints, we tested all coatings. I couldn't believe he had every competitive coating you can imagine. But our job there for 10 days was to compare these so that we had an education on what we're doing. So at 5H, Revivify on that PPG paint, which was pretty hard clear, it was a pretty hard paint system. The scratch at 5H was, they asked me, and I said, that's questionable whether it was irreversible damage or not. What I meant was I could possibly repair that scratch. I could probably compound that out without damaging the clear, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Without doing too much damage because it was thin. But 4H down, the coatings did much better. Most of the ceramics failed at 2 and 3H. Now watch this. What he taught us is he gave us a ceramic coating chip, all of us. It's a name brand company, I'm not going to say, but it was about the size of a $50, and it was about 1/4 of an inch thick. And he literally gave us a very sharp ice pick. And he said, now take this, put it on and try to damage it. This was a ceramic coating at that thickness and that hardness. It was very hard. I wasn't even hardly seeing scratches, right? At that thickness is when you'll see the performance. Hence, 35 years ago, rolling it on the buildings, rolling it on the cars, the protection it offered is astronomical. It's an amazing product. But at the layer and the thickness that we're applying them to the surface becomes very, very low percentage of protection.
Interesting.
Revivify is not silica or titanium dioxide chemistry. It's, as we all know, paint protection film is made with urethane pellets. That's what creates a sheet of vinyl, a crystal clear sheet of vinyl. Revivify is made with silicone powders. It's almost like your cell phone cover. You see the cell phone cover?
Yeah.
So if I drop this cell phone on the concrete floor, it absorbs and rejects the impact and hopefully protects my cell phone from damage. Paint protection film, when a projectile comes in contact with it, it absorbs and rejects and gives us the ultimate level of paint protection film. Where ceramic coatings are glass, they don't do that. It's hardness. If you think about it, if it's hard enough and a projectile is hard enough too, it's going to create damage on impact. Whereas Revivify is the same as PPF or a silicone cell phone cover. It's designed and chemically designed so that if a projectile comes, it absorbs and rejects it. Now, you're talking 2 or 3 mils of a hand-applied product compared to 6 or 7 or 8 mils of film. Obviously, film's way better.
Right.
But when it comes to Revivify and its performance in my shop for the first year before I even thought, I never was going to be a distributor. I never thought that question was ever going to arise. I just fell in love because I quit doing ceramics in 2018 altogether because I was getting tired. I had a conscience. I had integrity. And my customers who are very educated, you know my client base, Kevin. You've seen my clients. You've actually dealt with my clients.
Yeah.
And they're not stupid. They're educated. They know the difference. And I'm taking, $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 to do a ceramic coating package on their car. And 3 months, 6 months, a year down the road, they're coming at Mel. Like, really? This is it? I mean, I'm doing what you tell me to do. My God, what do you want me to do? That not drive it? Basically, that was where I was at. And all of a sudden, my guys, two of my licensees up in Canada that turned me onto it and showed me that there was a new chemistry here. I was open-minded. I've always been that way. I think that's why you become a leader when you're open-minded. When you're closed-minded, you don't have leadership qualities. And so when they sent it to me, I gave it a shot. And back then we were doing it incorrectly, but I was getting way better performance. The first 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, people think they can test a product on a car, Kevin, you know that. And I remember Barry McGuire and Jason Rose coming into my shop in 2007 with D114. And, hey, Mel, Barry wanted to request, hey, we know you have your waterless, but would you mind if we did this? And could you help us? Because I already had done it. And I said, absolutely. I'm here to team this up. And if you could do it, that'd be great. Gives me a place to buy my own product.
Right.
And look at when they launched it in 2015.
Yep.
You're talking 7 years of R&D before they finally launched that product. And people think they can try a product and give you an answer on one car or one application. People send me product from all over the world, and they know the response I'm going to give them. Well, when can we get a report from you, Mel? It'll be 6 months to a year, and I'll let you know. Because I need to try that product on under different climates, under different paints, under different conditions. Everything is involved. There's so many variables that before you can reach a result or an answer to that question, it takes a long time. And after 6 or 7 months with Revivify, I knew I was onto something really big. And it fits perfectly between a ceramic coating and a paint protection film project. Because a lot of people today that they can't afford $2,500 just to protect the front of their car. There's a budget there, and a lot of people are they have that. That's a negative. They don't have that kind of money. And Revivify, I would say probably a good 75% of the hundreds of applicators now that I have in the US are film guys. They're not stopping film. But the cool thing about my film guys is they're going, Mel, thank you. Because now if I can't sell the front clip, I don't want to sell them ceramic because it doesn't do anywhere near. And Revivify is filling that gap. I actually, like I said earlier, I think Revivify is now creating its own category because it is a different chemistry. It's a silicone-based, flexible chemistry.
Yeah.
When I was in Taiwan, they actually demoed the sprayable, which we can't have here because of VOC compliant issues. But they did it, and we waited 4 days. I was there 10 days. But on the fourth day, they actually peeled it off. I mean, it was like, holy cow. I was taking pieces of your traditional ceramic blocks and dropping them. And, you know, they make that clicking sound on a wood top, right? And I was dropping Revivify and it's bouncing. You know, so there's a big difference in this chemistry. And the bottom line is, what are we trying to do here? You know, is this a political thing? No. What we're trying to do is offer the best for our customers. I don't give a rip what a detailer says about me or what they think about me or Mel selling snake oil. You know, I've learned I got rhino skin a long time ago and it's thick. You know, and people say, well, Mel, aren't you responding to some of these negative comments? No, I'm not, because eventually that stops and they move on to the next negative thing and we all move on, you know, and that's how I look at it. You know, it's the negative, closed-minded people that shut down to new technology and they forget, wow, do you realize who's actually introducing this to the industry? You know, I have a shop just like you guys do, and my shop's very high end. And my clients, they're very high end clients, a lot of celebrities, and I mean, they're not stupid people. And I'm not gonna sell them snake oil. And now here, after 500 plus applicators in the U.S., really, they all drink the Kool-Aid? You know, they're all stupid.
I mean, you're charming. You're charming, but you're not really that.
Yeah. Like, come on, man. This is way past Mel Craig, you guys. This is gone now. I'm the president, and I'm proud of orchestrating this. But you know, it's now way past me. When I first started, there were 4 countries involved in the hand applied side. A lot of countries are doing the sprayable, but there were only 4 countries. Now there's 52 countries.
Awesome.
I mean, thousands of applicators globally. You know, it is really taken off. It's really a new technology that people should, you know, at least take a look at it. You know, it's don't close your mind to it. Look at the shops around you who are having now a new revenue source, a new source of income. In fact, the coolest part of this, Kevin, is it's actually reinserting like a new, like almost like you go and get dialysis and clean out your blood. It's actually created a new flow of customers now saying, some of them, the biggest feedback we're getting from the customer base, nationally speaking, is, wow, finally, one of these coatings that actually does what it says it can do. And they're putting their money up and they're actually seeing performance. And I think that's what the guys should look at, not look at one individual, Mel Craig. Look at the performance. Look at what's happening in the industry. This is new technology, and Revivify is not the last. It's coming. I mean, I'm working with a company in Germany that's making a skin. It's not called film. It's actually I mean, you can't poke a pencil through it. I mean, this is going to be we shot the pebble gun. On a piece of metal, they just ricochet off.
Wow.
Like I'm telling you, there's going to be technology that's going to change everything. It's already changed over the years. We went from, some rotary machine to, I love Cody Sutherland because he reintroduced something that really took off with I would say Cody and Cyclo were frontier people. They were pioneers because when he introduced the Cyclo, I think that was a big step for the car care industry, massive, because now we had something that was not just a polisher, we could actually do some cutting with it. So instead of bringing out the rotary for people that weren't trained on it, now they had a tool they could actually pick up and actually do some light compounding and actually get a result. And then it went from, I'll never forget, I think I was the first person in this country in 2010, Rupee sent me the first 15. And I was like, wow, now we're going from the Cyclo to this almost like rotary, but it was an orbital.
Yeah.
And I got sucked in just like everybody. Wow, this is a cool machine. And now the Rupees was actually better than the cyclos. So we were actually getting more paint correction on a compound liquid and a compound combination choice that you pick. You could actually get paint correction. And so now a lot of people who were afraid of rotary, they had another new step that they could actually pick up, and now they could offer paint correction without the fear of a rotary machine, which, by the way, for everyone listening, you can't have fear of the rotary. It is an easy, very simple tool to use, a little bit of training, a little bit of practice, and I swear to God, you're going to knock down your paint corrections in half the time if you pick up a rotary and learn how to use it. Mm-hmm. It's these guys that are trying to use, a 15 or a 21 or a polisher to do paint correction. Yes, they're going to get a result, but at what time frame? Yeah. Yes, it will correct paint. Yes, you can do paint correction, but at what time frame does that take you to get it done?
And there's new rotary, both the big boys, Flex and Rupus, are both. They have now new rotary machines that don't weigh what my Makita weigh. They don't weigh what your DeWalt weigh. All that stuff. So it's
I live with my rotary. My Rupus rotary, like it's the best thing that's ever happened in the industry, and they put out, that's one of the best machines and it's very simple to use. But going back to Revivify, once you've got a finish in the car today, not yesteryear, I'm talking about today, the paint is so thin, Kevin, that I tell customers when I do paint correction now, we're not a fit unless I coat your car.
Yeah.
And Film and Revivify are two great candidates to offer the customer to add that thickness that they truly need. Revivify is very thick. And at one layer, I'd say 70% of the customers are one layer cars, and they do just fine. They're no more coming back. I haven't in 5 years. January 2019, I haven't had one return on Revivify. I was getting returns every month with ceramics. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying that they had limitations.
Right.
We all sold them. We're all doing well with them, but they had limitations. And as long as you set the expectation with the customer how limited they are, it still protects the paint underneath. Well, today's paint is so thin, Kevin. It is, people don't realize that the thickness of paint is less than 3/4 of the thickness of a sheet of paper.
Yeah.
People don't know this. One layer of clear coat is 100 times finer than human hair. So many people call themselves paint correction specialists, and they don't know the first thing about paint. Well, okay. That's like Tiger Woods saying,
everybody that does detailing and paint correction should go learn how to paint a car. That's the first thing. At the very least, know the chemistry behind it. At least
go meet a body shop owner and say, hey, can I watch you do that?
Yeah.
Because they'll learn so much on that experience. You and I have painted cars, but for them to go in and at least see it done, you'll learn, wow, that is thin. And so today's customer,
and then realize everything you just saw is 10 times thicker than than the GM black that you just got in your shop.
Yeah. And when you think about that, now you have adapted a selling feature because the paint is so thin. I always bring out my thin paint article, which, as you know, I wrote, and I got my ass kicked like I always do. But I don't care. Look at the truth was out, and now now other trainers are training thin paint too. And I started training that in 2008, 2009 into the early teens. And now look at everybody's on board and everybody understands the issue here. Growing up in the industry, we never had chips in paint. That wasn't.
Yeah, it was like 4 layers of clear. It's PPG.
In the old days, in the
70s, urethane.
It was just layer and layer and layer of paint. And it was so thick that it was like film because paint, if you can peel a thing of paint off, it moves, it's flexible. And so that many layers, we saw, scratching and things like that, but not chips. And today it's an epidemic.
Yeah.
It's literally, we're seeing clear coat failures in 2 and 3 years on cars. It's really sad. And Revivify is just a new technology that people are misunderstanding. I think they think I'm trying to sell it as PPF. It's not even close. But doggone it, man, if your customer's on a budget, now you do have something that fills a slot that you currently don't have.
Yeah.
Because at 2 and 3 layers, it's really thick by itself when you put it on. You've seen some of the videos that, oh my God, it's a really thick product. And then you put 2 and 3 layers. I just so you know, and maybe the whole world might need to hear this. After all these years of doing film in my own shop and how many subcontractors I used to do film over all these years, in January of this year, I stopped. I no longer offer film because 2 and 3 layers of Revivify are right up there with it. But yet my profit, the reason I made that decision in my own shop is because we just did our end of month for August and the quarter, and for us anyway. And I grew the company 61% to the bottom line. And that's because after we did the math, I eliminated all my inventory on film, all the labor that we were taking to put the film onto the cars. When you deduct all that, and then the end result, how much profit is left compared to a $200 bottle of coating and putting it on the surface of the paint in 2 hours. I mean,
that's the labor alone. You're in a
film is always going to be there. It's never going away. In my eyes, I don't think film will ever go away. It's a badass product.
Yeah.
But there's going to be other products that are going to rival film. They're coming. Revivify is just one. There's other products that are going to be more affordable, easier to do, simpler to do. And that's what these guys should look at. What's the most profitable for you right now? Do you want to get into film? No one can answer that question but the business owner in that environment. He needs to make that decision for himself. It's a great opportunity to grow a business. And yes, it's awesome. Revivify has found a place. It's really doing very well. And that's just the applicators and customers, growing it now. It's now being hyper growth.
Yeah.
And it took 3 years to get here. And now all of a sudden we're just like, and by the way, I can't talk about it. I can't discuss it. I can say this. At SEMA, we're launching version 2, and I've been using it now for 7 months. Kevin, game over. I mean, the technology is here, and people are really going to go, wow, this is now you can't mess. It's insane what we're launching at SEMA this year. So
this actually will come out after SEMA. So people will be able to go to YouTube and go to your website and see what was announced at SEMA. So that'll be really cool. You're in an interesting spot because you're in a, we talked about the stair step. You got rise and run, rise is the up, the run is the horizontal. And so you're kind of in that, we're hopefully in that rise part of that, but you're trying to describe, it's trying to describe something that you have to equate to something else that gives people a frame of reference.
There you go.
But you're not saying it's not this, but it's kind of like this, and it kind of does this.
So close that it's very and the performance speaks for itself. It's the performance that you have to look at. You could say or do like a lot of people do in this industry. They misdirection, misconception, deception, all kinds of stuff. You can say, but it has to be backed up.
Yeah.
And performance is where you'll see the backup. And that's all that matters. I mean, I don't support, do I support Detailers Helpers Belt?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And guess what? That belt was created in biblical days.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not a new concept. It's not a new concept.
Anything new, but you woke up the world. And I can't believe how many detailers don't realize what that belt does in saving time to get a car done. It's not one thing that makes a difference. It's an accumulation of several things that you do in the correction process that makes the difference. And the Detailer's Helpers Belt is a percentage of that. And that's why I promote it so much. Kevin doesn't pay me to say these things. And I quit being sponsored years ago. I
couldn't afford you anyway, but but
so,
for sure.
When I think about the Detailer's Helpers Belt, when you introduced it to people and still to this day, people say, oh, that's stupid. I'd never wear that.
Yep.
Well, no, the reality is you're stupid because you're not wearing it. When you think about a contractor, a framer, a cabinet man, a plumber, in every industry, they all bring their tools with them. Why? Because it's right there at their fingertips. And the Detailer's Helpers Belt, man, I got my compound, my towels, my phone, everything's right with me. I mean, and I get it's so much faster to just reach down and grab things, on your hip. And it's the same thing with Revivify. It's new, it's different, and a lot of people are afraid of new and different. A lot of people have fear, and instead of jumping on board and say, well, man, Mel's not stupid. Let me take a look at this. Instead they want to be negative, and you got to let that go.
Yeah.
Like the people who will say the Detailer's Helper Belt is a waste of money. You got to let it go.
Yep. It doesn't hurt my feelings. We got
mindless skin, and you just keep moving.
For sure. Hey, so I want to mention, you've been working with Chris from Detailers Roadmap because we're gonna, just because we will have some applicators listening to this because they want to, and other people in the industry. But we have these coding pages that we build as part of websites that we build in Detailers Roadmap. So it actually kind of helps you with the selling prospects, the unique selling position, and all of those things with Revivify. So if you end up doing a website with Detailers Roadmap, or if you already have one, that's an option. If you want to learn more and book, you can go to detailersroadmap.com/revivify. So
let's actually enhance that a little bit, because here's a combination, and this is the part of teaming up that I love. I teamed up with Detailers Helper Belt for a reason. I'm friends with Kevin and business partners with Kevin, because I love promoting the fact that you talk business. And this is what this is now. So as our organization grows, and it's growing very fast, I've made a few phone calls. Some of these guys are reaching out to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that's what I love hearing that, because here's the cool part is you're not steering them away from me. You're actually helping them. So, and now I'm getting these questions like, hey, Mel, I've got to create this, for Detailers Roadmap. I got to create this. So help me.
Yeah.
So I can get it over to them, because we're going to recreate our website. And so now we're becoming a team, Kevin. And
Mm-hmm.
I urge all the applicators, or now and in the future, or anybody who's, looking at this, again, this is the part of the business side that you really need to step up to the plate and say, I can't do this myself. So why not bring somebody on board that does this? And I'm assuming that based on volume, the amount of work that you guys are doing, it gets to the point where it becomes easier and easier for your crew to develop a website. And so price tag wise,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably a great venture for them. The knowledge behind it all, but the more you work with the automotive appearance industry and the car care side of this, the more knowledge you guys get, the more information you get, the more you can help the new guy that comes on board asking for your help. And by all means, we will put you on our monthly call one day soon
awesome.
to have you talk about what you're doing and how you're doing it. So we need to educate them of the importance of Detailers Roadmap, where you're headed and and right now, the guys on Revivify that have reached out to you, they're all excited. And so I'm excited.
That's awesome.
We win big time.
When Chris called me, obviously I've been in the industry for a long time, and also I've owned my own web development company, which I don't do a lot with anymore, but like it kind of had this Mel, and he's like, well, you've got some networks and some relationships. Part of my title is, revenue development and strategic partners. Right. So like I get to have those kind of conversations and get to kind of bring all of that together with this technology and knowing what I know about the industry and know what I know about different parts of the industry. Yeah, it's been great. And I love that. Like you said earlier, rising tide rises all ships, lifts all ships, right? Like that's what we're trying to do here.
Another interesting point is when I looked at your guys' website, and what people may not know is when you look at a company, you got to look at who's driving the ship, like I said. And you guys have a bunch of people. I think there's like 6 or 7 of you.
Mm-hmm.
I read the bios of each of you, and wow, what a tremendous opportunity for these guys to reach out and get, all the support they need when it comes to helping their business grow. It's like Revivify. I guess a lot of people think this is Mel Craig all by myself in my little, 2,000 square foot detailing shop running Revivify. We got 6,000 square feet, 9 people all running Revivify. It's big now. I got the support system that we developed, our conference room. And when the Taiwanese come here, they're going to see something that's going to be mind blowing. We've built a very, very powerful foundation, and people have to look at who's running the ship. It might be Kevin doing one thing, but when I read all the bios, wow, there's a lot of talent, in the Detailers Roadmap organization that are driving that thing. And everyone has to look at that, not just one individual.
Right. 100%. So how do people learn more about Revivify, get in touch with you? You said there's an application process. What does that look like, and how do they get to that?
Revivify is a premium product. And so we're looking for shop owner right now. And the way it's been given down to us with the global strategy, we're only looking for shop owners. It's a controlled environment type of product that we want it applied in, not outside. The temperament of the product, it applies similar to a ceramic coating and levels. So, but there's wait times.
Yeah.
For example, today I did a Porsche and I put it on a panel, and I'm waiting 14 minutes before I actually leveled that panel.
Oh, wow.
So you put it on several panels, go back, level. another panel, go back, level that one. So you rotate through the car. So there's some temperament involved and the training is involved there. But to find out more about Revivify, you can go to the Revivify America Facebook page. That's the open one, and just scroll down and look at the success of all the other applicators. By all means, the teamrevivify.com website. Go to Mel Craig, my personal Facebook page, and just scroll down and see the success and what we're doing. There's plenty of YouTube videos now. The self-healing aspect of this was my hot button in the beginning stages. Although it still is, it's the durability, performance, the hydrophobic, all out of one bottle that has really got my hot button. Now it's not, yes, it self-heals, and it self-heals for the lifetime it's on the car. And that is sort of a good selling point. But now here it is 5 years later. That's not so much the biggest selling point for me now. It's the durability and performance. And I think if you go on social media and go to the videos and stuff that show what Revivify does, that'll answer people's questions.
Yeah.
I mean, to see scratches on a car or to see water spot damage that in most cases you'd have to polish out. I'll tell this quick story. I had a customer come to me just 6 months ago, and I've done probably 5 or 6 of his cars over many years. And he got his new F-150 pickup truck, his work truck. And, the one car before that was years ago, and it was ceramic coating. And he loved it. He never had an issue with ceramic coating. One of those great customers that I don't know what he did, but he liked it. So we were happy with him. And when I introduced him, I said, well, I no longer do that. I do this product. It's called Revivify. He was like, well, look, I don't want to try something new. Can't you just? I said, no, I can. I mean, I can introduce you to somebody else. He goes, you know what, Mel, I trust you. Do it. Well, a couple of months went by, and he had parked his car on his front lawn where the sprinklers hit it in the sun, and they didn't come off. He was like really disappointed. He goes, hey, Mel, look, I told you I wanted ceramic. This Revivify is on the side of my truck. It got spotted. I've washed it 3 or 4 times. They're not going away. I said, look, Jeff, bring your truck into me. You're covered. Dude, you're 100% covered. It's not going to cost you a dime. If I have to fix it, I'll fix it. So we set the appointment up for 2 weeks. The day before his appointment, his wife, Kathy, called me and said, hey, Mel, Jeff's not bringing his truck. And I thought, oh shit, he's pissed. I thought the guy's really upset. And they had been gone that week, and the truck had sat out on the driveway for the whole week in the sun. Yeah. And they all were gone. The water spots were gone. So it's those kind of things that drive Revivify to the top. Not Mel Craig selling snake oil or whatever god awful things they're saying out there. It's the customer that is loving the product. Finally, that's really what we want to hear. Our job isn't to go on social media and brag about each other. If you're a detailer out there working this industry and trying to grow a business, your responsibility is to your family and to your customer, not to the other detailer. You're not here to try to impress the other guys. The only person you should impress is your customer, because they lead you to the next new customer. The postings on your social media campaign shouldn't be to the other detailers. It should be so that your consumer, when they go check you out, and trust me, they do. If they're thinking about using you, they're going to go and look you up, and they're going to find out what kind of a character you are before they leave their, $500,000 Ferrari with you. So when they do that and they see a great, a great businessman and a great guy who posts in all defense of the customer and how well the customers are happy with your shop and stuff, that's when you're going to win. Right? Yeah. Right, Kevin?
Yep.
It's all about the consumer. The consumer is the one that pays your bill. The consumer is the one that makes sure your rent's paid on time. Your kids get the shoes for this year's fall starting of school. Not the detailers.
Right.
Get away from that. Just go out there and really strive hard to build your customer relationship program, because that's where your income comes from. Hands down.
100%. Hey, this has been awesome. I appreciate you taking the time. And I'll probably see you in a few weeks from the time that we're recording this, and we're going to do some push-ups in your booth this year. So we'll put that 8 pounds to the test.
Now that I'm working out, yeah.
There you go. All right, Mel, I appreciate you, man.
Oh my God, Kevin, thank you so much. Say hi to your lovely wife, and I'll see you at SEMA.
I sure will.
All right.
Head over to detailersroadmap.com and get your one-stop success solution today.